Frosty Fresh makes this look easy, but he knows better than anyone how difficult doing a stunt is, in real life or in a game.
Because it's not just what height you hit it, it's what angle you hit it at, what momentum you hit it at. It's a very natural thing when you're doing it, but very hard to calculate it.
Frosty Fresh is a world-famous freerunner. He also served as Ubisoft's chief parkour officer for recent Assassin's Creed games, and he's part of the reason why the movement in those games feels so good. But parkour in games isn't just a matter of strapping a mocap suit on an expert like Frosty. When you dig into it, a lot of work has gone into the animations, the gameplay, and the world itself to achieve the ultimate feeling of flow.
That kind of like elusive, magical aspect where you can take momentum from one thing and turn it into something else.
Flow is a state of mind, a feeling of control that you get from trusting your body and the world around you, so you can just move without worrying about whether you'll be able to make that next jump.
I think it feels so innate in our bodies and our minds, and it connects to something really, really almost primordial in all of us.
Which is a hard thing to translate into a video game mechanic. How do you communicate a feeling that's so physical?
Usually it's details like the music starting to kind of increase in tempo.
This is Henrik, a level designer on Mirror's Edge Catalyst, and he's referring to the game's responsive soundtrack.
So when you run, we have more percussion. If you stop still, we'll have pastoral chords. Basically, you control how the music plays by your actions in the game.
In Sunset Overdrive, every song is broken down into submixes, and the layers are added in as the action heats up. So even when you're just climbing up a building, you still get a feeling of doing something epic. That's not to mention the sound of wind blowing past you or the Doppler effect you get when you brush past some chumps stuck in traffic. There are also visual effects that are so subtle you might have missed them. Mirror's Edge and Dying Light both give you tunnel vision when you're really hitting your stride to help you focus your attention forward, while more comic book style games give you actual motion lines at the edge of the camera. In some cases, the camera bobs more as you pick up speed to give a greater sense of physicality.
All those small things together with a sense of flow or kind of a rhythm in your movements kind of all ties it together to perform or to give you an experience that is kind of unique.
For Mirror's Edge Catalyst, they had that rhythm down to a waltz.
The player has to do something or the ability to do something every 3 seconds. Otherwise you get bored or you get overwhelmed by options.
This rhythm is key in creating a sense of flow and for keeping you from feeling too frantic or overwhelmed, which is especially important in games like Assassin's Creed or Dying Light.
It's like running on top of the water surface. If you stop, guess what happens? So you can't stop because you're gonna be killed, yeah?
Adrian and Bartosz are part of the team behind Dying Light 2, where every move is a difference between life and death. When you're in a flow state, you feel in control of your character, which gives you the confidence to escape a precarious, zombie-filled situation. Feeling in control isn't so hard in third-person games when you can always see yourself and the world around you. But this becomes an issue in first-person games when your body mostly just comes down to your hands.
The hands for Faith in first person is, for the majority of the time, our only means of communicating what she's doing, really, unless you're looking down a lot while playing, which no one is.
So your character is basically just a camera, floating on an orb, with hands sticking out like a creepy Mr. Potato Head. But first-person parkour games still give you the feeling of a full body.
So the character has weight. Like, it's not a camera moving through the environment, but a character with a weight, with physics that has a body.
That weight comes from making the animations feel as realistic as possible.
So like, let's say for example, you're like going over a wall and opening a chest or something. They need to like capture them over and over from every angle. And it's a very weird thing to like transition almost naturally from like doing like aggressive parkour movements into like, and now I'm revealing this treasure.
Frosty's talking about contextual animations, which are easy to take for granted because they feel so natural when you're playing a game. For every input, the game is making dozens of calculations to figure out what animation should play. So when you press a button to execute a jump, the game is checking vectors like your speed, the distance to landing, the angle you're moving at, and much more to prepare the appropriate landing animation. But despite the variety of physics-based animations, most of these games aren't really going for realism. Although the developers for the first Mirror's Edge tested out motion capture for Faith, they found it actually looked too unnatural.
If you use motion capture on a first-person rig, is that you sort of feel like you move in molasses. It's slower than you would expect your player to move.
So instead, they created her every movement and animation by hand. And because it was all done with such attention, the developers could, well...
We could cheat a little because the FOV is limited, so the hands can pop up on the different spots, or the body can move outside of the camera in a natural way, and it still wouldn't matter for the players.
Not just that, but parkour games cut a lot of corners when it comes to making the gameplay more forgiving.
We fake a lot of things to make it look nice or feel nice. Our job is to make you not know that we're actually helping you out a bit.
And it's my job to expose these cool tricks so that we can better appreciate the hard work that went into them. See, Henrik's talking about helper systems, which most platforming or parkour games use to improve the experience of controlling a character.
One helper system was you're allowed to run a little bit outside the ledge before you start falling.
This goes by a lot of names like ledge assistance, or more colloquially, coyote time. And it's a common, if invisible, feature in lots of games. Basically, you don't start falling immediately after you stop standing on the ground. There's a grace period when you can still launch into a jump. And if you jump too early...
We predict where you're gonna land, and if we see you just missing the ledge, for instance, then we can adjust that mid-flight and kind of make you land where you're supposed to be.
In a first-person game, it's easy to hide this because your perspective is so limited. But even third-person parkour games still do this. Sunset Overdrive and Assassin's Creed use edge detection that snaps your character into place when it detects the right kind of ledge. It happens so naturally, you usually don't notice until you make a jump that's, well, a little awkward. It's all in service of keeping that feeling of flow. But if you're like me, you probably thought you were just good at these games, and this comes as a huge blow to your ego.
Like, we know that you will miss, but unfortunately it would look so unrealistic that we couldn't help you.
Now you know that if you missed a jump and plummeted to the ground, you didn't mess up a little, you messed up a lot. Flow doesn't just play a part in the body and how it moves, it also has a huge effect on the design of the environment.
I call it like hills and valleys. So usually when you enter a new place, you stand on top of a hill looking down on the environment. And it's a way of us introducing a new area.
Not only does this build a sense of pace, like the ups and downs of a roller coaster,
it's also a good way of letting the player kind of take in this new environment and plan their steps ahead.
if you have a sense of where you're going, you don't have to stop as much to find your bearings, which would seriously stutter your flow. The world for a parkour game needs to unfold slowly for new players to give them time to step up their skills. Sunset Overdrive starts out with areas that are relatively open, with long lines and easy bounces. As you get more movement options and develop your skills, the levels get bigger. As you progress in Dying Light, more and more loot spawns on rooftops, and those rooftops get higher and higher up. The designers also need to remove any ambiguous elements to cut down on the frustration of trying and failing to interact with an environment. In Dying Light, every wall that you can climb is no higher than 3.3 meters.
You don't have to try, you have to know. This is our rule.
So once you've played the game and get a sense of the scale, you immediately know if you can or can't climb something.
By making it more directional, making it more exploratory, it gives you a better sense of you doing something, even if you're just holding down the sprint button.
Basically, the more active your character is, the more in control you feel. The more control you feel, the more connected you are to your character. And all of this makes doing cool stunts feel super satisfying. A good parkour game makes me feel like I can swing from buildings. break through glass windows, and confidently leap off Zeus's ass.
I also think it's what makes it fun, because if all of the characters that we played in games could just do what we could do, then we would just go out and do it ourselves.
Well, speak for yourself, Frosty.